Hey guys, it's Jordan Hetrick here, and I have a really exciting new product for you guys today that I'm excited to share. So Insta360 came out with a new invisible dive case for the X3, and I'm really stoked because they're up for sponsoring this video so that I could share it with you and show you how it works. I've been looking for a dive case for you guys like this for a long time that will record full 360 video, and I'm so stoked that Insta360 finally stepped up to the plate and created this product that now I can share with you. It's a really great dive housing and I think you're going to love it. This new invisible dive case is going to allow you to create shots like you've never created before with a 360 camera underwater. If you're just getting started with the X3, I'll show you what comes with the new invisible dive kit. I'll also show you some of the differences between the new housing and the old housing, and give you some tips on how to get some amazing shots underwater with your X3. Also, if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can stay tuned and be the first to know about any new videos that I come out with for the Insta360 X3 or any other action cameras. So this here is the new dive case for the Insta360 X3. So what makes this invisible dive case so special? Well, Insta360 redesigned the case, so now that it's in line with the invisible selfie stick, you can get those invisible selfie shots underwater. And to be able to get that with a 360 camera is truly amazing, and that's what I've been hoping for many years. The combination of the super wide angle lens on a 360 camera with that invisible selfie stick is going to allow you to capture shots that look like it's following you underwater even though you're actually filming it, which is truly amazing and a great perspective to capture. I know there's a lot of you who used the original dive case, and it was great for shots that were looking forward, but it was a real problem because the shots underneath where the nadir is was actually blocked out. So you couldn't film yourself with the invisible selfie shots, and you had to angle your camera kind of weird. Now with the invisible dive case, it's much easier to film underwater because you don't have to worry about that nadir at the bottom of the shot. Everything is visible, and you can get those invisible selfie stick shots for that truly, really cool, unique perspective. If you're someone like me who loves to film underwater, whether you're snorkeling, free diving, scuba diving, or just playing around with your friends, the invisible dive case is an awesome tool to have to capture some really cool shots. If you already have the Insta360 X3, you can just buy the invisible dive case on its own. Insta360 is also offering a new invisible dive kit for those of you who are just getting started with the X3 or want to upgrade your camera. If you get the invisible dive kit, it comes with the invisible dive case. It also comes with the new Insta360 X3. You've got the selfie stick, which is essential for getting those great underwater shots, especially when you extend it out. You've also got a floating hand grip, which will help the setup float because it doesn't float without the hand grip. And then it also comes with a rubber lens cap to protect your X3's lenses when it's not in the dive case. I also want to point out to you guys that it doesn't come with a micro SD card, which you'll need to store your camera's photo and video files. So if you do go purchase the invisible dive kit, make sure to select the right size micro SD card for you. And you can also get that from Insta360's site. I'll put links down below in the description. Whether you buy the invisible dive case on its own or as part of the new invisible dive kit, I'm going to show you what's inside the box here. Obviously it comes with the invisible dive case. You've also got this lens cleaning cloth here, and it is really important to keep the sand and dirt out of this housing so you can get clear shots when you're underwater. Then you've got this adapter, which you're going to use to mount the invisible dive case onto the invisible selfie stick. There's also 2 packs of these anti-fog inserts. We've got these small circles which can be used to create a tighter mounting position when you mount your dive case to that adapter. And there's a wrench to also help you get a nice tight connection. It also comes with this nice carrying bag, which is vital for keeping your camera scratch-free. Anytime I come in from filming, I just put the camera straight back in this bag, and that way I'm going to prevent any scratches on the outside of this dive case. If this bag gets sandy and wet, at least it's doing its job and it's protecting your dive case. Now that you might be interested in the invisible dive case, obviously those of you who have watched my channel before know that I'm not going to make this video without giving you some helpful tips. Obviously I have the X3 book, which is going to help you with everything you need for this camera from start to finish. I also have the beginner's guide video that's going to help you get started and get you set up so you can get out there and start filming, and I'll put a link for that here. But I also want to give you some tips specifically for using the invisible dive case, just so that you can have a good experience the first time you get out there. The first tip that I want to share with you is you need to put the camera into the dive case mode before you put it in the invisible dive case. So to do that, you just swipe down from the top of the screen here and tap on this little icon here. It looks like the dive case. That's dive case mode. After you put your camera into dive case mode, then you can just power it off and put it in the dive case, and just make sure the logo on the X3 matches the logo on the invisible dive case, because that's going to allow you to use the buttons on the dive case. Then when you get to the beach, you can just press the button here. That's the power button. It's going to turn your camera on, and this button below is going to start and stop recording. So you just want to make sure that you choose your settings first before you go in the water, because you can't change them easily when you're in the water. The next tip that you need to know for the invisible dive case is that it's really important to line your camera up directly with the pole. So you want it exactly in line, just like you do when you use your Insta360 regularly, but that's going to allow you to get that invisible selfie stick shot when you're out in the water and not see your pole in your shots. And because you're in the water, the camera moves pretty easily, so you can use that little wrench that they gave you to tighten the thumb screw super tightly so your camera is not going to rotate. I just like to keep the invisible dive case mounted to this adapter here super tightly so that I don't have to adjust it every time I want to go film. And then when I want to go film, I can just put it on my 114 centimeter invisible selfie stick, tighten it super securely, and now my camera's in line. The next tip to get some great shots is to make sure to extend that selfie stick out as far as you can. That way you're going to get some really cool shots and you're going to have that faraway perspective to use when you go to edit. The fourth important tip is to just make sure you keep this as clean as possible. You want to make sure there's no dust or dirt on the inside of these ports here because that's going to get in your shot. Also, don't touch the outside of them because you don't want to get grease or sunblock, for example, on there. And also, just make sure that no water gets inside of this dive case because that's going to create more fogging when you're out filming and you really can't correct it when you're out there. Also, it's important to know that this doesn't float if you don't have the floaty handle on it. So you can use that to your advantage if you want to. You could set it on the bottom, for example. But if you want your camera to float in case you might lose it, be sure to put a floaty handle on there and it might show up in the shots a little bit more, but at least your camera will be floating. In certain lighting conditions and depending how you have your camera oriented, you may notice some glare right at the stitch lines when you go to edit your footage. So you can actually see this if you look at your camera while you're swimming, and it particularly happens if you have your camera held like this, and you can see some glare just reflecting off of here and it'll be pretty bright and shiny. And if you see that there, it's probably going to also show up in your shots when you go to edit. I found that if you rotate your camera just slightly, you can avoid that glare and the sun isn't going to reflect off that rim around the edge of the camera. Another thing to be aware of is, you're filming with a 360 camera. So those wide angle perspectives are going to look amazing. You're going to have a lot of distance. You can create it so it's floating and your camera is going to appear to be very far away from you. The more you zoom in, the less clarity you're going to have in your shots. Say you want to film a close-up of a fish or a piece of coral or some sea life. If you film it from far away and you zoom in, it's not going to be very clear. However, if you move your camera a lot closer to your subject, then the clarity is going to be a lot easier to work with when you go to edit. My favorite shots are the super pulled back shots, or if I want to get something close up, I'll just go close to my subject. But for serious divers who are doing macro underwater photography, it's not going to replace that. It's more of a ultra wide angle perspective and you can get those close-up shots as long as you're close to your subject. If you're into filming underwater at all and you use the X3 or you're thinking about upgrading to the X3, I highly recommend this invisible dive case. It just opens up a myriad of shots that weren't possible before. And I'm so excited that Insta360 finally came out with a dive case that you can use and get invisible selfie stick shots with underwater. If you're interested in the invisible dive case or the invisible dive kit, I've got links in the video description below. And I've also got a link to my book, so check that out if you want to learn more about your X3. Thanks so much for watching and have fun out there underwater.